Welcome to Childcare Rockstar Radio. I am your host, Kris Murray. Childcare leaders around the globe are breaking through challenges, leading the way in innovation, testing new best practices, and impacting children and families in a much more powerful and positive way than ever before. Each week, join me for interviews with early childhood leaders and experts that will leave you inspired to become the next childcare rockstar. Now, let's go. This is Childcare Rockstar Radio, episode 129, featuring Donna Jensen and Audrey Pallone-Bugeja. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Childcare Rockstar Radio. I am your host, Kris Murray, and I am thrilled to welcome you back. I would like to thank the sponsor of today's episode, which is CCEI, Childcare Education Institute. Did you know exposing your students to cooking helps them explore their senses, build basic math skills, and boost their confidence? To celebrate National Culinary Arts Month, the team at CCEI is making it easy for educators like you to incorporate cooking into your lesson plans. To do that, they're giving all Childcare Rockstar Radio listeners free access to their top-rated course, Cooking in the Classroom. This interactive course, along with their 150 other titles, is entirely web-based, so it can be accessed from any device and started and stopped at any time. And the best part is that you will earn IACET CEUs at no additional cost. To claim your free course, simply visit cceionline.com. That's cceionline.com before July 31st and select Enroll Now and use the code CCSC7, the number 7, Childcare Success Company, CCSC, and the number 7 at checkout. Again, use code CCSC7 at checkout. Unlock your free Cooking in the Classroom course from CCEI today. Thanks, friends over at CCEI. We love you. How y'all doing? We are here smack dab in the middle of July. And I'm very excited to bring you a sizzling hot topic on today's podcast. We are going to have some real talk all about staff wages and compensation and whether or not to jump in and just increase your wages across the board and bite the bullet. And we've said many, many times in talking about cultural shifts inside of preschools with leaders on this podcast that it's not about the money. However, in today's crazy hiring climate post-pandemic, it has become a little bit more about the money just to try to attract the best of the best. And so we're going to dive in on this topic, pros and cons, and how to actually afford a across-the-board wage increase for your staff and your teachers if you choose to do so. So how to afford that, how to figure it out, how to determine how much to actually do raises if you're going to do them, and so much more is discussed with my amazing guests, Coach Donna Jensen, coach on my team, and industry veteran owning 2 of her own schools near Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I have worked with and been a fan of and coached Donna, and now she's coaching y'all under the CCSC umbrella, and it's just so amazing to be part of the transformations. And we talk with also on today's podcast, Audrey Pallone-Bugeja. She is in Donna's pod. She's in coaching with us, and she owns her own preschool as well, of course. And she talks about following the lead of her coach with guidance and love and coaching to be brave and to actually dive into a wage increase and what happened for her once she did that and how she actually implemented it. So I think you're going to find insane value out of this episode. It's one of, if I had to pick a handful of episodes to tell new listeners to this podcast to be sure to tune into or watch, this would be one, because it addresses all of the issues of what's going on in our world right now. And it really gives a roadmap for how to win this hiring war that we're finding ourselves in. and I want you guys to win. That's what this is about. So we're going to dive into that. Before we do, I do want to mention that in just 4 days from now, we are kicking off our brand new challenge. It's called 6 Figures in 7 Days, how to add at least 6 figures of revenue to your school. We are coming up on fall enrollment and planning for that. And this is the perfect time for you to figure out how to get a full house in terms of full staff. Let's open up any of those closed classrooms because you have staff shortages. Let's figure that out and fix that issue once and for all. And let's enroll like crazy until we get full and pick up every single penny of money off your table. So we're going to take you through that whole process and teach it to you in the 6 Figures in 7 Days challenge, which starts officially on Monday, July 18th. If you have not registered yet, it is free, and it's an incredible community of like-minded ECE leaders and owners. So come on in, join us, and you can register and learn more at childcaresuccess.com. There's a banner image at the very top of that page, and you can just click on it, and it will take you right over to the challenge registration page, and you can learn more. There's no obligation. There's no cost. We do have a tiny fee of $27 for the VIP level, and you'll learn all about what you get if you join VIP, and I hope you do, so that I can meet you and work with you person to person and individually in a group, the VIP group. We do calls every day in the VIP, and I will get to meet you in there and learn more about you. So, and of course, in the actual challenge itself as well. So again, go to childcaresuccess.com and be sure to join us. It all takes place in a private, secure Facebook group. So you have to go on over and join the 6 Figures in 7 Days Challenge Facebook group as part of your registration process. Get the free workbook, download that, maybe even put it in a three ring binder and get excited and get ready and sharpen those pencils and let's go. So we will be kicking off with our first training class on Monday, July 18th, which is right around the corner. And also there will be some pre-work for you this coming weekend, the 16th and 17th of July. So get ready for that. And otherwise, I am having a great summer. I'm just enjoying doing a little bit of work, doing a little bit of travel, having fun with my daughter, getting on the river a little bit, hiking and biking, trying to learn the very difficult game of golf, relearn it, and just having fun. And I hope that you are as well, figuring out a way to have some fun and make some memories and have some special trips, do some things with loved ones this summer, and getting back to really living fully here in the summer of 22. So let's dive in. Without any further ado, I won't make you wait for it any longer. Episode 129, let's dive in and meet Coach Donna and Audrey, and let's learn about how to, whether or not to, but how to do increases in staff compensation and how that might make a difference for you, and how to fund it and how to make it work for your business. So enjoy. Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. This is Kris Murray, your host, and I am thrilled today to bring you 2 outstanding ladies in the field of early childhood education. My guests are Donna Jensen, who owns her own school and is also a coach on my team, and Audrey Pallone-Bugeja. Audrey and Donna, welcome. How are you?
Thank you.
Great.
Very good. Good. So where are you both right now? Donna, let's start with you. Where are you sitting? Where are you located?
I am in my home office in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina on a beautiful sunny day.
Woohoo! Nice. And Audrey?
I am at home in Lansing, Michigan, actually in my kitchen.
All right. Very, very good. I would like to learn a little bit more about you each. The audience may or may not be familiar with Coach Donna. She was featured on an early episode of this podcast. Donna, do you happen to remember the episode number?
That was number 3.
Woo! Episode 3. And actually, I think that was before you even became a coach on my team. I
Correct.
featured you.
Correct.
And so just give us an overview of your business and just kind of like your school name and just a few particulars
Oh.
about it. Donna, you can go first.
I am located in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I own 2 centers that are called the Learning Station, and we are actually in the process of purchasing another one. We're just waiting for the closing to happen. So it's a secret of where it's going to be, but it's very close to happening. We are expanding one location and growing. We're just growing by leaps and bounds. So love being a coach and love being in this field.
Awesome. And how many years have you been in this, Donna?
I started in the industry in 1981, so we don't really need to do that math because, old. I started out, I had in-home childcare for about 10, 12 years. Then I founded a center at our church, and I did that for about another 10 years. And then in 2007, went out on my own and opened the Learning Station. Opened the second facility in 2019, and number 3 is going to be birthed soon.
Awesome. And how many employees do you have?
I have 45 right now.
Wow. You're right on that magic precipice, under
We're
50.
about to cross it.
All right, Audrey, give us a little bit more about your business, if you would, please.
So my business, Little Scholars Preparatory School, I started out with a small center in downtown Lansing, very small, and just founded it from basically the ground up. Not very many kids, literally no staff at the beginning. And then 2 years later, an opportunity fell into my lap to open a second center. And so I jumped on that. So the first center was opened 14 years ago. The second one was opened 12 years ago. And now I'm down to 1 center. The first one, the building was bought pre-COVID. So we kind of transferred all the kids to the newer, bigger center, which our capacity there is 75. And we are at 100% capacity. We have 16 employees, and I'm still the sole owner of that, of the whole business. So
Cool. Nice. Well, I am so excited to have you here, Audrey, because our topic today that both ladies have brought to the forefront is the hot topic of the industry right now, which is all about how to win the hiring war and how to find, attract, and retain staff in today's environment. So we're going to dive into that topic specifically because these 2 ladies have success stories around this topic. So I can't wait to dive in. But before we do that, I would like to know a little bit about your home life and a fun fact that you would like to share with the audience. So Audrey, I'll have you go first.
home life, I am married to Jeff, and we have 2 children. Lou is 11, our son, and Lucy is 6. She's our daughter. And we love to go up north. Now, I know across the country, people don't necessarily know what up north means.
Right.
In Michigan, it just means heading up. In Michigan, we just say up north, but I know the whole country doesn't do that. Northern Michigan is probably one of the nicest places to be. So we spend as much time as we can in the summer on our family's cottage on Black Lake, boating, fishing, swimming, that kind of thing, and campfires. That's kind of what we do for fun. And a fun fact, Donna and I both have husbands named Jeff, and they're both super funny and a riot, especially at the mastermind meetings and mastermind parties. So last one was the pirate party, and we're looking forward to the Take Me Out to the Ball Game party in August in Chicago.
Awesome. Love that.
That's already planning a costume.
Yep,
Yes.
we're working on our costumes. So for those of you that are not in the academy that love this podcast, we hope you'll join us someday. We have really fun themed parties wherever we go, and we do 2, 3, or 4 live meetings a year with parties, depending on your level of membership. So we loved hanging out with you and Jeff, Audrey, at the pirate party and had so much fun. That was one of our best parties. That was really, really great. Donna J, how about you, honey? Tell us a little bit more about your
Oh,
family and
I have
what's
a
going on.
big family. I'm married to Jeff for 35 years. I have 4 sons that I have given birth to and 2 extra children who we have loved for about 5 to 7 years apiece. 4 grandchildren. The youngest 2 are 4 days apart. And a fun fact that I hope I can share is that I have 2 more on the way that are also going to be born about a week apart. So we are growing by leaps and bounds, and all of my children are entrepreneurial. And one of my daughter-in-laws is actually coming to work for me starting today. She's
Wow.
a director at our brand new center. So
Congrats. I love that.
excited. Yes.
Super cool. So I want to also just thank you, Audrey, for being in the academy. I think you've been with us a couple years, and also you recently wrote me a very heartfelt story about your experience and how alone you were feeling before you found our incredible community and tribe. So thank you for your vulnerability and for sharing on today's podcast. And Donna is your coach. So in the academy, we have pods. We have all different levels of calls and support and training and events. And but the pod calls are part of where the ultimate magic happens, I feel, on these monthly small group, 5 or 6 people per pod, led by one of our coaches. And so you're in Donna's pod. So I'm going to have Donna walk us through a little bit of the story leading up to what y'all implemented around your staffing, around this staffing crisis, and how you are winning the war. So Donna, just walk us through a little bit about your situation as a coach, but also as an ECE owner. You were facing what everybody seems to be facing, which is hiring and staffing struggles. And so take us back to that situation. How many did you need? What were you doing? Why wasn't it working? Or just give us kind of a little bit more of that, the pain that you were experiencing at that time.
So I think like you hit the nail on the head when we started that this is the hot topic. And so as a coach, not only do I experience what's going on in my personal center, but I talk to people across the country almost on a daily basis, whether it's through the pod calls or Q&As or quarterly meetings. And it just seemed like suddenly a switch was flipped and there were no more workers to be found. Like,
Yep.
We went from not everyone having enough enrollment of children because, in some places parents weren't bringing their children to school, although we didn't face that. But then suddenly everyone had more children that they knew what to do with and couldn't find teachers. And I was talking to people who had classrooms closed, who were having to turn parents away, even though they had space because they didn't have the staff to do that. To be able to meet ratios. And so I started just talking with my admin team and really just myself, like it just kept in my brain, like there's got to be a fix to this. Like people don't just stop working overnight. And what I really feel like it came down to is that the face of the childcare industry is changing. I think if the pandemic showed us nothing else, it showed us that we are important, we are essential workers, that we play a really big role in our communities and that parents need us and depend on us. But for whatever reason, the mentality for childcare owners is not to increase their tuition rates. It's not to charge what they need to charge to be able to pay a competitive wage. And so every conversation that I was having with my clients was that they can't afford to raise their rates to attract quality teachers. And so I just kept on every single call with every person I was talking to is like, you can't afford not to. If we can't hire staff, if you can't open classrooms, eventually you're going to close your doors. And
Yep.
so if we have to change our rates to be able to afford to be able to pay teachers what they need to make to be able to work for us, it's not going to work. And I think that we all realize that a teacher in an early childhood classroom has the highest level of stress, responsibility, because of all of the stress our country has had over the past couple of years. Like, children's behaviors are out of control. We need to have quality teachers who know how to handle those types of things. And it can't just be a revolving door of hiring someone, that works a couple of weeks and then leaves, because it's costing us more money in turnover than it would if we just bit the bullet and raised our prices.
Yep.
And so that is what I did. And then I started sharing that with all of the people that I was talking with on our pods and stuff, and just saying, like, I went to my accountant. I said, I want to be the highest paying center in my area. What do I have to do? And she helped me to develop our budget and kind of work backwards on, if I want my payroll expenses to be this, factor in all your other expenses. This is my shortfall for the month of what I'm going to need to make up to be able to do that payroll. And I did 20% pay raise, tuition increases, one in August and one in October.
Wow.
And it worked. I mean,
Yeah.
so, and I don't know how much further you want me to go in as far as like the success of it, or if we'll talk about that later, but it's definitely working.
Well, what I'd like to know, because I'm sure everybody's wondering, is who is scared to do a big price increase? And you did 2, 6 months apart from each other. How many families did you lose, and how many complaints did you get?
0. We didn't lose any families. We have a paid waiting list of probably 50 to 75 children where, parents are paying to be on that list. They're not just putting their name down haphazardly. And that's always the fight that I have, right? When I'm coaching, is that they're afraid. They want a big letter, a template of how to raise their rates. And I'm not trying to be flippant, but I haven't gotten a letter from the gas station or the electric company or the waste management company about why my rates have gone up, in some areas
That's
double
right.
or 20 or 50%. Like, I think the biggest thing that you taught me, Kris, in the academy is that I have to run my business like a business. It's not an expensive hobby. And for some reason in the childcare arena, we tend to have really big hearts and we worry about our children and our families, and we don't worry about the business aspect of it. But I know, some people are stressing over changing their rates by $5 a week, but I have parents who spend $7 for a cup of coffee.
Right.
And we're talking about raising people's children and taking care of children, which is the biggest responsibility that a person can have on a daily basis. So I think we just have to change our mindset of what our value is and what our worth is. And we can't be afraid to charge, because even if you lost a few families from it, what you're going to gain in the increase will make up for that. And most people that I have coached in the academy, because they're in the academy, have waiting lists. So if you happen to lose a couple of families, you will be able to bring new families in that are willing to pay for the quality that you're providing. And of course, you have to provide the quality. You can't just charge and not provide the quality. But we did not lose any families, and we will continue to do increases as needed to be able to maintain. In fact, literally 10 minutes before I got on this call, I already revamped our pay scale. Our staff doesn't even know it yet. Before it was even rolled out, it's already being revamped because I didn't feel like it was competitive enough.
Yeah.
We have to do it.
So much, Donna, is contained within what you just shared. So I want to bring out just a couple key points. First key point is that even though it's not just about pay in terms of your school excellence, it's really about culture and leadership. You're not going to get a chance to show those teacher applicants and those new teachers that you're orientating and onboarding what a great culture you have if you can't at least get their attention with a wage that is market, top of market or market, has strength in the market, actually can be taken seriously with all the options that people have. So I want that message to get through, because a lot of people that I've talked to about this topic are like, but you always say it's not about pay, it's not about money. And I'm like, that's true. It's about the experience of how it is for you to, for teachers to work for you. But being a preschool teacher is a darn hard job compared to some of these other jobs, either fast food, Walmart, retail, standing around working in retail. I don't know about you, but I've done it. It's a much, much, much easier job than managing a school, a classroom of 10 toddlers.
Right. I would say, Kris, culture is my lane, right? That's what I love to coach on. It's my expertise. We've always prided ourselves in having amazing culture. But one of the things that we had to take into consideration when we did this is you can't just change the pay scale of those that are coming in. We had to go back and actually create a whole career ladder based on credentials, based on experience, based on how many years they've been with us. And some of my staff got raises of $5 and $6 an hour, which when you're in Myrtle Beach and minimum wage is still $7.25, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But our culture was being affected because we saw that we had to pay more to people coming in, but that was putting them close to where someone who maybe was with us 5 or 10 years was at, because they started so much lower and, slowly grew to that rate. And that was causing animosity, and that was hurting our culture. Mm-hmm. So we had to flip. It wasn't just about changing what we're hiring at. We changed everything.
Right. And that's a great point and great lesson. So the other key point that you shared, and I'll have Audrey share next about her experience with this, is we have to protect the quality of our schools, and we have to stop it from being a revolving door, because the persons that suffer the most when that happens are the children. Parents don't like it, and kids certainly don't benefit from it. And especially what we're seeing across our academy membership is what you said, Donna, about challenging behaviors, which are probably 3x, 4x, 10x more of a problem today than they were in 2019. So we have to have more help and more talent to manage a classroom with more challenging behaviors and new teachers and teachers that are burnt out, that have been there for a long time. So just those are all key messages I wanted to get through. Now, Audrey, you took this advice from Donna, or you saw this case study of what she had done as your coach, and then I guess decided to hop in and try to solve the problem. So tell us a little bit about what you were battling, how many positions you had open, just the landscape of what you were going through before you used this strategy.
Okay. The problem seems to really hit in January of this year. Where suddenly no applicants were coming in. We were offering huge sign-on bonuses. We never really had a problem getting people in. Now, as far as getting people to stay, there was that revolving door. I think that's part of the nature of the business in childcare, and I think everybody does understand that. But we couldn't even get people in for interviews, even with these giant sign-on bonuses. And I didn't know what more to do. I was doing everything I could think of to get people in the door. And we were at a point, like Donna talked about, where for a couple of weeks, we did have one classroom closed, each day for like 2 weeks. But when I talked to other childcare owners in my state, that seemed to be the norm at that time, that early in the year. So I was just at the mastermind meeting mastermind pod meeting with Donna. I think it was probably in February or March. And I came to it and I was just really down. I didn't know if if this was for me anymore. It was so stressful. One thing, you said about working in retail versus childcare is that retail, you go home at 5 o'clock or whatever, you're done. Like, you're not thinking about it. And like my teachers, they go home and they're thinking about the kids, and parents are messaging them at night and they respond back. They really don't shut off. Nobody shuts off when you're working with kids.
Mhm.
And so my A players, we talk about that a lot in your group, and I talk about that all the time with my staff. The A players were getting burned out. I could tell. They were working 50 hours a week, and they weren't complaining, but they were tired, and I didn't want them to burn out. I couldn't have them burn out. They're like the backbone of my business.
Right.
So I came to that meeting, and I was just in a bad spot. And Donna, all the people in our pod group were in the same position. And Donna said, basically what she said, there's been a shift in the industry and we need to change if we're going to keep up with it. And here's what needs to happen. We need to find a way to pay a higher salary to our teachers that are essential. We all are essential. And she mentioned it's always been a problem, but it took COVID to bring it out, to bring it to light. Like, this is a huge problem across the country.
Yeah.
So Donna said, run your budget, figure out what you need to upcharge in tuition to be able to pay your staff, give them an edge over what your competition is charging and all that. And so that was already in my mind. My wheels were going. And then that night, my CPA called me to ask me a 1-second question. And he was like, "How you doing?" And I said, "Well, not good." And I just went into it all with him. And he said, have you ever had a really great interview with someone? They'd be perfect for the position. They'd fit in well with your team. But when they asked for what they wanted salary wise, you just couldn't do it. And you had to turn that candidate down.
Yep.
They said, "Yeah, actually that's happened a lot." He said, "That's what we need." He goes, "That's what we need to change." He's a business owner too. He's the business owner of the CPA firm. So he gets it.
Right.
He said, "That's what you need to do." He said, "You got to figure out what you want to pay them and then make it happen." And he said, even he just had to do the same. So the fact that Donna told me, and then, which, we meet with our pods once a month, that same day my CPA called. He never calls. And he had to ask literally one question. We were on the phone for an hour. And so the fact that those two things happened in the same day, it was like divine intervention. Like, I have to do this. And so, yeah, that night, I wrote down what I wanted to pay, starting with the A players, and it was actually double what they were making. And
Wow.
I was already paying on the higher side than my competitors,
Mhm.
but I'm like, nope, we're doubling this. And that's kind of where it got going. And then once I told my leadership team, I call them my leaders, I have 4 of them. Once I told them that, they were all in, and just the good stuff started, happening more and more. And then now we're at a point where we've basically, like, I hate to say it, but we've cherry picked all the best players from our competitors. And but it's because our A players are pulling over all the good people they know from the other centers,
Right.
people they know that are team players that can work well. And that's where we talk about the quality staff. The letter writing out to parents, that letter was very scary. Like, and I was talking to Donna about it, writing that letter about, "Oh, your child's tuition is really about to go up," was super scary. But I I was, I kept putting it off. I'm like, well, I'll do it next week. I'll do it next week. I'll do it next week. And then finally my husband was like, either do it now or never do it. Like, you got, so I did it, and I just waited for like my phone to start blowing up, for my emails to start blowing up, and it was quiet. And like Donna said, no complaints. No one complained.
And what kind of an increase did you do?
For preschool and pre-K, they went up about $45 a week. And infants and toddlers went up about $30 a week because they were already high on the higher end. So.
Right. So long-term, ladies, what do you think is going to be sustainable with this? Because obviously our economy, we're trying to cool it off. We're trying to reduce inflation. It's at an all-time high in terms of like the last 35 years. Unemployment is an all-time low. So everybody that wants to be working has their cherry pick of jobs. And luckily you guys solved the problem. It sounds like, Audrey, from what you shared with our group inside of our Facebook groups, once you changed your pay rates, you almost immediately solved your issue. Like, it sounds like you just had applicants flowing in within days of doing this.
Yeah, we still do.
So
we work with A Plus with Bruce. And as soon as we changed our pay rate and put that into our ads, in the last 10 days, we've done 48 interviews. We've made 14 hires, 9 offers that are pending because we're looking to staff the new school.
Right.
So, I mean, instantly it changed. And they've all been quality candidates. The ones that get put through to us from A Plus are quality candidates.
Love that. Thanks, Donna. Yeah. And so I'll mention that at the end if you guys are looking for resources as you're listening to this. So a couple things come to mind. So first of all, I love that your accountant, Audrey, was like, we just have to fix the problem. And that's what Donna saw too, was when you're a business owner, and this applies to any business problem where you are stuck and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep going. Like, I'm thinking about closing my doors. Diving into the root cause of the problem, really peeling back those layers. What is really the root cause? What's really going to fix this long-term, systemically? And then being brave enough and courageous enough to write that letter and to fix it will keep your business alive and succeeding. And sometimes you just have to make those really, really, really hard choices. As a business owner, that's the business we're in, guys. We're entrepreneurs. It ain't easy. It's not a job for the faint of heart, I always say. And so you have to dive in and fix the business problem, no matter what you're facing, and be able to pick up that money off the table from those closed classrooms, period, the end. Because so many people in the industry I know are sitting there with closed classrooms or under-enrolled because they can't find staff. And what is that under-enrollment costing you? It's costing you thousands and thousands of dollars every month, And so we just have to do it. We just have to do it. And it is difficult in this season, but looking long-term, of course, we've gotten a ton of grants, right? We've gotten our stabilization grants for the most part, almost every state, other grants, other grant money available. It's been great, but what happens long-term? And what happens also, I would love to hear each of you chime into this, because I know a lot of people are going, but that's not affordable for families. How can, in this country, we solve this problem? And I know it has to come from the government, I feel, to make childcare affordable again. But what do you guys see in terms of long-term sustainability with this issue? What are your thoughts as you're thinking about the future and where you're headed? Donna, I'll have you go first.
So I would say it's going to take always watching our budget, making sure that our FTEs, our full-time equivalencies, are off the charts, maintaining, 100+% enrollment. All of our grant money that has been earmarked for bonuses or raises is in the bank. We're trying to do this without using that and testing it out. It's a good time to be able to see, are we going to have holes in that budget? Will we need to make any changes anywhere else, in our budget? But we really want to try to make it work without using the grant funds, even though we will be able to qualify, to use it towards our payroll and that type of thing. We're trying to do it without that. So it'll just be a constant, you have to, you're going to laugh, but you have to watch your metrics. You have to know your numbers. And I'm laughing because that was always my sore spot that Kris would pound on me that I hated to do. But you have to know where you stand. You can't just roll the dice and throw stuff out there and then hope that the revenue is going to be there to cover it. You have to know. And so if you see that, what you've raised is not working, then you will have to go back to the drawing board and increase your tuition if you need to. But it also, I think, will help us to keep our A players motivated, and it'll help us to weed out those C and D players that are just kind of coasting and don't want to meet those high expectations. And just the fact of not having all that turnover, I think will end up saving us more money than we're realizing, because I don't think people truly factor in what it costs every time you have to market, hire, interview, have background checks, have training, onboarding, like all of those things are costing a fortune every time you bring in new people. So if we can slow that down, I think that in itself is going to help us cover the difference of what our increases have been, because it costs a lot of money to continuously, and it takes so much toll on your administrative team where they can't do the things that will bring revenue in because they're spending so much time on hiring and onboarding. So I feel like it's going to balance out. It's definitely, like I said, a work in progress, and we've already tweaked it once. We may, tweak it again. We've also put some penalties in ours that if people end up on action plans, that there could be a reduction in their salary for the time that they are on that action plan. It's spelled out clearly in our policies, which I think will have our action plans hold a little more weight as well. So
that is your terminology for a performance improvement plan, an action plan. Yeah. Love that. So we're having lots of folks in the academy doing exactly that, Donna, where if they don't hit certain measurables of, call outs, showing up on time, behavioral issues, communication, the no gossiping policy, all of those core value behaviors, and they go into a place where they're on a PIP, then they don't qualify for, or they get a reduction in wage or bonuses or benefits or what have you. So I love that. Audrey, what are you thinking long term? You've got this budgeted in similar to Donna, and you're going to just try to watch your numbers as a market test, or what are you thinking?
Yeah. One of the things Donna said is it's been a challenge for me too. Numbers. I always say, oh, I wish I had taken one business class in college, because I literally didn't take any because I went to school for teaching.
Yep.
And I taught first grade for 5 years before opening Little Scholars. So I had no idea what I was doing business wise, numbers wise. So that I've had to learn along the way. Another thing that Donna always says, and it sticks with me, is this is not just an expensive hobby of ours. It is a business. And it's crazy how high the top line is. But then when you bring it all down after the salaries and the building costs and all that, it is nowhere near, that top line. But, like Donna said, it's okay. It's okay to make money. You should make money. This is your business. So as far as maintaining, the current price increase with tuition.
Yep.
Before, we were just paying for a lot of stuff, like all the curriculum packages, and we didn't even charge a registration fee. We would just have parents put down the first 2 weeks of tuition. And just all these little costs here and there
Mhm.
are adding up to what
Yep.
we necessarily don't need to be paying, but the parents would be happy to pay. Like we have a music class once a week of someone that comes in and that kind of stuff. And you're right, the stabilization grant has been good for what it's been good for is that gap between uh, paying the staff more money and also when the more tuition started coming in, which there was about a 1 month or so gap there. So that helped fill that in. But like Donna, we're trying to not really touch that staying in the bank. So
Mhm.
it did dip down a little for that time, but it seems to have evened out again now, whereas what's going out is coming back in, so I do feel like it evened out there.
Yeah,
And also focusing on our unique benefits for being able to charge those higher rates.
exactly. So working on your marketing message, strengthening your features and benefits list that you're going out on your website and in your phone script. And there's a lot of places where if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, well, I don't charge any of those fees. That's another really, really good place. Because if you look around at your competitors, and this is what we teach when we work with you in coaching and in some of our free challenges, is how to do a competitive analysis and look at what the market is charging. Certainly a reg fee, certainly an annual re-reg fee, a summer trip fee, some enrichment fees, Donna's waitlist fee, a supply fee. There's all different things that you can do to also enhance your income without necessarily looking right to your core tuition price too. So be looking at those extra fees can really, really, really make a huge difference
And
as
then
well.
chop away the discounts. Some people still give, vacation weeks that parents don't have to pay for, or sibling discounts, or, all different types of discounts, where in the state that we're in, that's just not affordable to be able to do that.
Right. Right. So
And you
taking those.
don't get a discount at the gas station.
Good point, Audrey. Also, I want to mention if you're a nonprofit or a not for profit, you also need to make sure that you're fixing the problem by doing these same strategies. Whether you're a for profit or not, the game is the same. You still have to use best practice of industry wage and compensation to attract the best A players so that you can have stability in your business. So I just wanted to mention that too for the nonprofits that are listening. And nonprofits also can usually qualify for more grants
Mhm.
too. So that will help you. Um, well, I think this has been huge, ladies. I think that the message we wanted to bring on this hot topic today was, as you said, Donna, it's the changing face of childcare. And we really have gone through a sea change, due to COVID and due to this changes in this world economically. We're just in such a different place than we were in 2019 or early 2020. And who could have predicted it? But you just have to respond. It's like when you go through a recession, and a recession may or may not be coming, but same thing. You have to dig in, survive the recession, figure out how you're going to survive it, apply what, learn from your tribe and win. So I love what you guys have shared today. Any other thoughts about this for our audience as we start to close the podcast? I'm going to give some resources. If you guys want to give your websites or your contact information, anything you would like to share with the audience as we head towards our close.
I would
Donna?
just say to remember that your staff is your most important asset that you have. If you don't have quality staff, they can make or break your program, because you can have all the best intentions in the world, but if your staff is not following policies, procedures, they can cause huge problems in your center. And so you really want to be able to invest in them and take care of them, watch out for burnout, training, all the culture, team building. People are in a different place than they were a few years ago. And you need to be able to check in on your team, and we need to be able to support them, not only monetarily, but in any other way that we can, because that's our backbone. I have an amazing staff. I have an amazing admin team that can run all of our programs without me being on site. but I value them and I try the best that I can to take care of them, because without them, I wouldn't have the programs that I have.
Yeah, I have to say, pretty much echo everything Donna says, but the leaders, your A players, um, if they didn't stick around through it, I'd probably be closed. So my biggest thing was to take care of them. And they were the first ones to be taken care of. And it was just a boost in morale for everyone. They were, much more positive because they weren't as stressed out. And then they weren't as burned out. Everybody was happier. It was just spreading around, and in high tide, all ships rise. And so everybody was building upon just the energy and just positive changes and bringing in the best. Everyone was buying into it. Everyone was buying into the better culture. Everyone's so happy now. It's totally different.
Wow. The whole vibe when you walk into the building. And let
Yeah.
me tell you, that vibe is priceless, because I have talked about this many times, but I've visited so many preschools and I could just almost immediately read that energy when you have a staff that is demotivated, downtrodden, exhausted, fatigued, not loved on. And it's a completely different energy.
Yeah, parents have mentioned that they walk into the building now, and it feels totally different. They've said that.
Wow.
So that's a good thing too. That parents
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So I love this, ladies. Thank you so much for taking the time. Some resources for those of you listening. Certainly, I would love, Audrey, I'll get you to also share as final thoughts, what some things that you've loved about being in the academy. But if you're listening to this and you want to know, well, how do I charge a waitlist fee? What do I charge? What's the percentage of labor that, I should be trying to target? What are some of these fees? How do I structure them? How do I do a price increase? What's a letter template? That's everything that we do, plus much more inside of the Child Care Success Academy and in coaching all year long. So you can learn more about that at childcaresuccess.com and just click on the book a strategy call button. Donna mentioned A+ recruiting. So our sister company with all things digital marketing, website, recruiting, and ads and social media is at growyourcenter.com. And you can go there and book a call to learn more about how to get us to do your recruiting for you. So we will basically hand you qualified applicants on a silver platter. Audrey, back to you. Just thank you so much for taking the time to share your story. I have loved working with you. And so what are some things, like one or two things that you love most about being in coaching with us?
The biggest thing that I love is knowing that I have a network of a bunch of owners that we all collaborate together. In our state, there's tons of conferences all the time, but they're directed towards directors, teachers. I never felt like I belonged in any of those meetings because I was like, yeah, but what about this? What about this? What about this? And, like nobody can answer certain questions for you, not even your family, I don't know what to do, especially during COVID. So just I felt really alone, really, really sad and alone for a lot of these years. And I had been in this for 14 years. I joined the academy 3 years ago. And in those 3 years, I've learned more than I did all the other years on my own. But the most important thing was the emotional thing. I didn't feel alone on an island anymore. I was surrounded by people just like me, dealing with the same things just like me, whether they had 20 centers or whether they had a home daycare with 12. We are all facing the same issues. So just knowing you're not alone is so helpful for your mentality and your mindset. You're not alone.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the coaching. Like if I hadn't been in a mastermind pod meeting that day with someone telling me you need to raise prices, I probably wouldn't have, because like Donna said, as educators, tend to be more nurturing and not wanting to push the envelope with tuition. We already feel bad that we're charging and feeling bad that we're making money. Like these are
Right.
all feelings I think a lot of owners have.
Yep.
And just getting out of that mindset.
Yeah, getting into a professional, more business mindset, because at the end of the day, that's actually what promotes quality and enables you to run a high quality program. So it is for the kids doing these great, being a great business owner, not just an educator / teacher in your approach, actually does come exactly right back around and impact those kids. And that's, again, back to the energy in the building. That's what I've seen time and time again. So thank you for sharing that, Audrey. And Coach Donna, any other final words for you?
You always usually ask us what we think defines a childcare rock star. And I feel like I would say today that would be Audrey. Not only is she an amazing person to be able to coach, but she listens, she takes the advice, and she implements. And you can be the type of person who attends every webinar and dozens of conferences and all the things, right? We're inundated every day with new things that are out there and new sessions you can attend. But if you don't listen and implement,
Yep.
you're going to be the same place you were a year ago or 5 years ago. And I see her taking everything we talk about and implementing it and actually doing it, and it's changing. And those are the types of stories that make my job as a coach so rewarding. And it's why I fight to stay in the growth level group, because I love having someone who goes from overwhelm into success. And it blows my mind every time that it happens, but it's so rewarding to see someone, actually take all of the things that we're teaching and do them. And so, Audrey, I'm telling you right now, I want you on that stage in Nashville, going for Childcare Rockstar.
Oh, thank you, Donna.
Come on, Audrey. Go,
Much.
go. No pressure. No pressure. Well, that's fantastic. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Donna. That's like everything.
Thank you, Donna.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Really, really great. All right. Well, ladies who both have husbands that are hilarious named Jeff, I'm going to let you go on to the rest of your day. Thank you so much for being with me here at Childcare Rockstar Radio, talking about the hot topic, the topic that we have to fix. We just have to fix it as an industry. And thanks so much for joining me and diving into this, taking your time. I really appreciate you and everybody that listens to this podcast. We appreciate you so much. You're doing amazing work out there in the field of childcare. Big hugs and blessings. And we'll talk to everybody soon. And we'll see you on the next episode. Take care and God bless.
Bye.
Thank you, Kris.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.